to 1,000 board directors in Singapore will be trained to handle cyber attacks by 2028. It's part of efforts to help organizations build cyber resilience through increased knowledge and resources as cyber attacks become more common and sophisticated. Free workshops using real-world scenarios will be available for members of the Singapore Institute of Directors under a new initiative with Ensign InfoSecurity. The simulations aim to train directors to fulfill their duties during a cyber breach. Areas include how to make high-pressure decisions and oversee recovery plans. More than 200 have already signed up. And here to share more, we're joined by Lim Minhan, Executive Vice President of Consulting at Ensign InfoSecurity, and Terence Quek, who is CEO of the Singapore Institute of Directors. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. Now, Minhan, let's start with you. What are some of the most common cyber threats that board directors need to know about and then also prepare for?
Now, we do not need the directors to be technical or deep technical, but we do need them to understand some of the more common threats that they are facing. So examples would be phishing and business email compromise, and also things like, for example, supply chain attack, and also ransomware, most definitely.
If you could share also how these simulations, perhaps, for example, would be able to train these directors to do that.
So we put them through a real-world scenario, and then there will be questions that they need to answer. These are not technical answers that we are looking for. Really, these are more a governance level, a risk conversations that one needs to take. So by running through these questions through them, they collectively can discuss some of the consideration behind some of the decisions that they made.
Now, Terence, let's bring you in now. This is not the first initiative to build cyber resilience for directors here. SID had launched earlier this year a cyber resilience guide for boards. So how does this initiative differ from that one?
That's right. So when we launched the Cyber Resilience Guide for Boards, it's actually part of our association's objective of uplifting directorship profession. And one of the key things is to equip them with the knowledge as well as the skill sets to manage cyber resilience. So we've been doing a number of trainings together with various partners. And for this particular partnership with Ensign InfoSecurity is really to take that vertical in terms of how do you manage a cyber crisis. So what we want to do is to get directors to be familiar with scenarios such as this so that they could then come together and think about some of the questions that they need to have at the board level as well as with the management. And the training itself is actually based off the guide itself. So if you think about it, we have the guide, we have some of the training relating to general awareness of cyber resilience, and then we have this particular one relating to how do you actually manage a cyber crisis.
And Terence mentioned crisis as the focus here. So Minhan, if you can tell us that, Singapore's critical information infrastructure has come under attack before, and most recently the UNC 3886 situation. Do smaller companies here get targeted as well? And how applicable are these workshops for the smaller boards in Singapore?
So we see advanced attack going for our critical infrastructure, financial hubs, for example. But at the same time, we see attacks going for the broader business ecosystem and also the supply chain. Now, we know that smaller businesses are really part of the larger supply chain, so they are definitely targeted. Right, and here in this workshop, we are not going for prescriptive, whereby we teach the organization step by step what to do during a crisis. Really, what we are going for is the thinking process behind those decisions that they have to make. So it is relevant for smaller companies as much as it is relevant for even larger companies.
And in this case, Terence, what is SID doing to encourage more directors to come forward to take up these workshops? What's the response been like?
Well, I think the response has been very encouraging. So the moment we publicized this, I think all the seats were taken up, and that's the reason why we're looking forward to even more training together with Ensign. But I think your question in terms of how do we encourage even more people to sign up, I think our main concern is not so much of the members within SID. We have 5,000 members today. It's really the directors who are not within the SID ecosystem. So with that, we actually partner with Ensign to also offer corporate members of SID a complimentary cyber incident response package. And this is something that's going to be helpful to all companies out there. So I would ask that companies really think about becoming members of the SID so that they could also benefit from the knowledge and expertise from partners like Ensign.
Right, and as all these plans are rolling out, we want to look at the future as well. What are some of the plans that are in the pipeline at the moment to train more directors? Are we also looking at other parts of the organization, not just the top leadership here?
Well, as part of this partnership, we are really looking at training some 1,000 directors by the year 2028, and really as an extension of it, as highlighted by Terence, we are really extending our incident response retainer to some of this members, corporate members of SID. Right. So what it means here is that they have direct access to professional help if they need to during a crisis, right, 24/7 around the clock. Beyond that, we are really working with SID to see, to really explore other opportunities to see how we can expand this initiative to board members or even, management.
Well, Terence, what else would you say, are some very key factors that might actually influence the way directors might approach these crisis situations? Is there any scenario that perhaps you can share with us, and how the program and the workshops actually help to train the directors for these crisis situations?
So I think I'll pick on to something that Minhan actually talked about. I think this space is really evolving, and I think Minhan already talked a little bit about the different landscapes. That was definitely covered during the workshop itself. The cyber threat landscape is evolving so rapidly, especially with technology, including things like AI, for example. So I think it's really a challenge for directors. I think this is one of the key pain points, right? How do I keep up with this space that's evolving so rapidly? And that's the reason why, knowledge is really important. So the guide is one thing. We're also looking at more publications in this area. So that's thought leadership. And then through workshops, including real-life simulations, hopefully directors get a chance to really train their minds in terms of how do I think about cyber resilience, as opposed to, can you give me a script? How do I tackle cyber resilience? So it's really the thinking, how do we ask the right questions at the board level, and also work in tandem with the management, not to get in the way of the management, but really working in partnership with their own management to tackle something as complicated as this.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up a script, Terence, because, a lot of these challenges that come up, it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know, that the threat is so, out of what could be predicted a lot of the time. So in that sense, how do you tackle that challenge of being able to train directors in tackling threats and risks that sometimes they may not even know, but perhaps you might not even be aware is out there? So Minhan, how would you tackle these issues?
So, as highlighted by Terence, we are not really going for prescriptive steps to teach them step by step. Really, it's a coming together of different board directors, and these are directors coming from different businesses, different sectors. So coming together, providing this collective and collaborative approach to training them, they get to hear some of the considerations and the thinking behind some of the decisions that other board members are making. So that will definitely help them expand, the kind of considerations they need to make during a cyber crisis.
Minhan, Terence, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your insights with us. I've been speaking with Lim Minhan, who is Executive Vice President of Consulting at Ensign InfoSecurity, and also Terence Quek, who is CEO of the Singapore Institute of Directors. Thank you both.